Hi there, Dr. Gary here on the road. We sell dental practices nationwide. We are dental practice brokers. I was a dentist for 25 years and now doing this for the past 14 years at dental practice brokerage. Today's topic is 2 unique selling situations of a dental practice seller. We'll get into the conversation, what happened with these two. As you know, we now have 10 employees. We're in 22 states, and we are available to you 363 days a year. We only take off Christmas and Easter. So please call us. Some of our employees, 2 of them are CPA accountants, and that helps us be sort of on the cutting edge of everything to interpret data properly. Now, everything you're about to hear is for entertainment purposes. It's not legal advice. You can reach us at 201-663-0935 or dentalpracticeguide.com or Nationwide Dental Practice Brokers. Excuse the sunglasses. It's a beautiful New Jersey day. In fact, I'm southbound going to the beach. Just saw a new practice. Nice little one. Interesting story about it. So, if you're thinking about selling to the DSOs, call us. We work with them all the time. We know everything about. We know who the best ones are, who's having trouble, who's solid, who's out on credit lines, who's using their own money, who's going to closing, who's not. They'll promise you a great deal. They don't close for 6 months. It's just too long. So we know about what's going on in the industry. We have the salespeople calling us looking for jobs because their DSO just cut out their entire marketing team. So we know things on the inside. DSOs pay our commission. There's no commission to you as the buyer for a large DSO practice sale. And when you work with, and we're independent of them, but when you work with us, we'll also get your legal fees on the big deals, $1 million plus. We'll get your legal fees reimbursed based on small criteria at successful closing. I believe we're the only brokers in the country doing that. So give us a call on that and we'll get you rolling. So what do we have today? 2 unique situations. One of them, it's in a strip center, but a high-end strip center, a mall strip center type thing. But the actual rent is about 25% less than the average rent in that per square footage because they have a large space, close to 3,000 square feet. And the rent is not too bad for that. But the odd thing is their rent is actually going down upon option renewal. I think they'll be there for 11 years, and they have an option renewal that's 5 or 6 years. And the rent at that point is dropping almost 30%, 25%. That's a big deal. So one has to, that is a unique situation because you rarely have that. Although in Manhattan, they started dropping the rents right away. But this has it built into the lease from years ago. And there's about 12 years left on the lease. I think about halfway in, the rent decreases 30%. That's pretty unheard of. So we're excited to talk to you about that. All right. And excited to share it. Now, I need a buyer that has a little vision. Because you don't want to just take today's rent and say, well, what percentage it is of gross and so forth, it doesn't cash flow. You have to factor in the rent's going to be lower, and there's like a 12-year lease. The rent's going to be lower in a few years, all right, by 30%. That's a big deal. You've got to take that in consideration. Unique situation. You can't use your standard formulas. You've got to get in there and be a bit creative. So that's what we have going on here. Now, what I'll try to do with this buyer is I'll tell the buyer to use one of the well-known dental banks that can get their arms around this. All right? So we'll talk about this, but I think the opportunity is there for somebody. Now, for this doctor, we're going to do our standard advertising. That is local, national. We're on one of the largest banks in the dental arena. And they put our listings on there. In fact, I don't know if you know this, but we have more hits at that one bank, and I don't like to name names. We have more hits at that one bank than anyone in the country does. We have that title. I think we have more YouTube videos. We have 505. I don't think anybody comes close to that. I think we're the only ones in the country. Secondly, we are now reimbursing legal fees of practices that sell $1 million or more for the seller, will reimburse the seller's legal fees based on some small criteria. All right, but anyway, this is a unique situation for this because the rent is going down, and you've got to factor that in your formula. You just can't look at it today's rent and plug it in. You got to look at it the future. Okay? So we'll talk about that. Now, the next one we have is the doctor is ascending, going up in his gross, going up and up and up and up. And he doesn't want to sell now because he's on an ascending platform. If you extrapolate out, he's going to do 25%, 30% better this year. The seller doesn't want to sell, but he feels he will be penalized because they'll average out what he's doing now, not his potential where he's going to be. Now, most banks people aren't going to pay on potential, but it does help with marketing, so forth, makes the practice more attractive to buy. So on this doctor, we're going to sell to a DSO. We're talking to DSO. We said, look, can we extrapolate his present gross out, assuming he's going to do as well? Can he get paid rather than the doctor waiting 3 months to build up the gross even more, and he continually is on a curve? Can he somehow sell this practice now on the extrapolated or the future growth? And they're going to, believe it or not, the DSO, we may factor it in. Let us factor it in, and we'll give you a different price. So this is very exciting. This way the doctor doesn't wait, because you know how I am. I don't want to wait for anything. It's like, get it done yesterday. And you know the story, which I've repeated 100 times. COVID, 2020, or whatever it was. The doctor, was a building and a practice, and it wasn't closing that fast. I said, let's get this thing done. We're in like March or April, May of 2020. This is right before COVID was really going to kick in. And the president was involved and all that. So I was pushing to get this thing closed, but it wasn't as much for the fact that COVID was coming. It's more like we didn't understand COVID at that point, what was going on. We knew something was happening. So one thing leads to another. I'm pushing like crazy to get this deal done. Get it done. We closed the deal on March 4th, 2011. You know what happened on March 11th, 2011? Forget it, 24. 2000, that would have been 2020. The whole world shut down because of COVID. Shut the airlines, everything else down. That was crazy. But we do push sometimes. So what you got to have is some of these practices, you just move on them fast. Even though you don't know, you're not perfectly sure about it, but it seems to have everything you need. You don't want to waste a lot of time just looking and planning. And same thing for a seller. Don't just figure, well, I'm just going to do better for 5 months and show you how much better, and then I'll sell it. Because you don't know what the parameters will be at that time. For example, the DSO that's looking at it today may not be the DSO tomorrow. They're going through changes. Big changes. So what you want to happen is that this practice just gets sold now. You're healthy. I know you're healthy, and I know you're not going to get some disease pick up. I don't think you are, but what if something does happen? What if you get into an accident, right? An accident. That's a problem, right? You get disabled and so forth. So I'm dealing with these disabilities twice a month for 14 years, sometimes 3 times a month. What happens if something happens? You're riding everything on the fact you're going to be healthy again. You're going to stay healthy, you won't have a problem. Sometimes not the best way to go. So that's what we're trying to teach you here. Just jump on it. We're trying to tell this doctor, don't wait till your practice just grows to the perfect amount or the extrapolated amount. Just sell it now, and maybe we'll work with the DSO to see if they can factor in a growth potential factor. Do not wait. If you're thinking about selling, sell it. Just get it sold and get it out of there. Because the future's unpredictable. All right? I've seen this happen so many times. They figure they can do everything perfectly with the timing, and it doesn't work that way. You start playing around with timing, nobody can predict the time. Okay?
In a quarter of a mile.
If you can,
use the left 2 lanes to turn left on County Road 607, Meriden Road.
So, if you think you can figure out what the future is, let me know. We'll hop on a plane. I'll buy the tickets. We'll go to Vegas. You can't. So sometimes better to get out early. Thank you. Hit the subscribe button, team. Thank you. Bye.